October 22nd, 2025. Probably one of the most historical days to go down in Counter-Strike history. Now I want you to imagine the CS market, a giant overinflated bubble sitting on the edge of a cliff, minding its own business. Then along comes Valve to let some of that air pressure out of that bubble and deflate it just a little bit. But instead, what they ended up doing was popping that bubble completely and then throwing it off the cliff. Luckily, some of that air stayed in the bubble and it was able to not hit the ground. $3 billion. That's how much money was lost in the CS market within 24 hours. Now, I gotta give credit where credit is due. I already knew the CS community had an average IQ that was probably room temperature, but goddamn, they exceeded my expectations. I really didn't think it could go much lower. Honestly, someone should probably call the Guinness Book of World Records for this one. You see, Valve dropped an update that was supposed to make knives more accessible to the average player in the game. Knives were already in a massive bubble, overinflated, and mass manipulated. Now, of course, the prices of knives and gloves were supposed to go down a bit, but it seems like a lot of Counter-Strike players ate an extra chromosome that day and decided to completely fucking dump onto the market. If anything, this has probably been my favorite update so far in CS2. I have not laughed harder in my life at this whole thing, even though I lost like $15,000 in one day. But instead of sitting here and giving you all doomsday narratives and how the market will go to zero, let's all come back to reality a little bit. I know most people out there already got mollywopped right across the forehead with a reality check, but let's be fucking real for a minute. I think the most shocking part of the whole thing is when I started seeing collection items that aren't even involved within the update, start to lose 50% of their value. Like, what the fuck are we doing at this point? This is why we can call this update the CS2 Great Depression. You see, not only did skins lose 50% of their value, some skins lost up to 70% of their value. Something that has been unseen within the CS market, probably in its whole history. The skin prices have already made a little bit of a rebound, but don't let that bounce confuse you. A lot of knives are going to be coming off trade hold on October 30th, so expect a little bit more of some price adjustments. Now, why did this happen, and what does the future look like for the CS2 market? You need to establish that first off, this is in-game cosmetics within a video game. And what I've been hearing is that a lot of people were taking out loans or taking on debt just to invest within the video game. This goes full circle back to the room temperature IQ statement. If you're taking out loans or taking on debt to buy video game virtual items, this has to be one of the biggest reality checks I've ever seen in my life. But this is only speculation. I'm only speaking on speculation at this point. And what actually has been happening is kind of just beyond everyone within the community. So instead of speculating or coming up with theories, I'm just going to talk about what happened. Now, most people expected that only knives and gloves were going to be the items hit by this, but unfortunately, it was the whole market that decided to tank. And like I said, skins that weren't even affected by the update, like example, the Op Silk Tiger, AK X-Ray, M4A1S Fade, they all lost about 50% of their value within 24 hours. I even was making a video about the M4A1S Icarus Fell and how it made it to $1,100. Well, that video's dead in the water at this point. How could they do this? How could they do this? I don't know, I might still post that video, I'm still deciding. Anyway, a lot of people have lost faith in the market, they don't really trust Valve, and a lot of investors are pulling out of investments, which leads to a lot of panic, it leads to a lot of downtrends within the market. And at the end of the day, I think it might be good for the game. I actually think this is a very good update. I think it's a positive change within the game. Knives are now more obtainable for the average player. Of course, if you do a knife trade up, you're most likely going to get a very bad knife, but there is that off chance that you do get one of the knives that you really wanted. But in turn, this has affected the covert prices. Prices have skyrocketed for coverts, which actually makes it a very good thing for people that like to open cases. You see, the FAMAS Bad Trip, probably one of the most hated skins by individuals like myself. See, this FAMAS was a icon of depression. Literally, it was cheaper than the classifieds that you could get for the same float. So I would literally beg for Glock Shinobus over the FAMAS because it was only $2 and field tested. Well, that has completely changed. The FAMAS has rose from $2 to over $40 on the Steam market. That is insane. So it makes it better when you actually get a covert out of a case. It actually has value now, which I think is a very good change. On top of that, average players can now get knives a lot easier. The supply of knives are gonna go up a lot more now, which is in turn going to affect the price of the knives. We're back to the days where you can buy a knife for $40. I think that that's a good thing. The only bad thing is if you bought skins more recently, you're down pretty bad. But if you had skins just like myself before CS2 came out, you are still doing kinda well as an investment. But have I ever really looked at skins as investments? Not really. I just like to collect them. So the value of these skins never really mattered to me, nor have I ever really cared. But this update is an eye-opener, and I think a lot of people are opening their eyes that they're at the mercy of Valve. It's not really a great investment opportunity, and you should probably put your money in other avenues if you want to invest. So at the end of the day, be careful when you're buying video game items. At any moment, the game developers can make a massive change that can completely affect the market. So please don't take out debt, and please don't take out loans in order to buy skins. And have this update be an example. Anyway, I just wanted to document the situation that's happening for myself. If anybody does watch this, I appreciate you. And at the end of the day, I stay holding because I honestly don't really care about the prices. I like my skins. So with that, please stay safe. Check on your mental health. If you're losing it over some video game items, you maybe need to go talk to a professional, because at the end of the day, it is what it is and there's nothing you can do about it. And with that, I'll see you in the next one. Bye bye.